Good morning, 5-star. Welcome to another edition of the 10,000 live stream. I'm here with your amazing broker support team, Marissa Harrington and Cindy Beckwith.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Hey,
Good.
great.
It's gonna be a great day.
Yes.
It's a great day filled with lots of heat, and
Yes.
at least it's not a snowstorm.
Yay.
I pray for this weather all year, but I do like it much better when I'm on a beach in Florida, but it's all good.
yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, so we're headed right into summer, and we know that this market is a little kind of uncertain.
Mhm.
So our best advice to you is to keep making your connections, keep talking with people, continue to be a pro, and do good business and keep learning. So Cindy or Marissa want to say hello real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say hey to everyone. As Kim said, we're moving into summer officially next week, and this is normally a really busy and hectic time for agents. And so we want to do these live streams to just kind of encourage you all and remind you all that in the busyness, to remember to do great business, right? To be organized, to stay on top of communication with your clients, and just don't drop things just because you're busy. That's the first thing to go, is like your organization, your professionalism. We're all guilty of it, right? So we do these live streams just to encourage you all to continue to push to be the best that you can be.
Yes.
Yes,
Cindy,
absolutely. Yeah, and I totally agree with what Marissa says. I think in this market, you get going in a lot of different directions and all that. And I have to remind myself, hey, I'm one person. I need to step back a little bit, gather myself, and get a little bit better organized. If it's from making a list or calling broker support for any suggestions in that. We're here for you, but you can do it. You'll be successful.
Yes, good wisdom. And I always like to compare prospecting when we get busy.
Mhm.
What you do right now when you get busy, it's easy to just focus on the business, which is very important. We want to give good customer service, have great transactions, get them to the closing table. But often we forget to keep prospecting. So I like to think of it like the lottery. So I don't really watch TV so much anymore, but the old lottery commercials would come on and there's all those balls flying in the air, right? And my trainer 20 years ago taught me it's like the lottery, and all these balls are all up in the air, but you have to keep throwing them in, right? You have to keep putting new prospects in, and then one will come down and you'll work with that one, but you need to keep putting those balls into the machine. So, do good business, but keep prospecting. I'm feeling a little bit of a lull in my showings. Just continue to do good business, and we'll be ready as things change, and we can move along with it. So, all right. So
good
today,
talk,
so last week we talked about the listing to close checklist on here. These are available in the 5-star classroom.
Yep. They
are generic, so you can take them and make them fit to whichever board you're in. You can change them around, whatever you want to do. So today we want to take just a little bit deeper dive into the listing to close checklist.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to talk about that for the next 15 or 20 minutes. And if you have any questions, raise your hand, write a comment, and we would be more than happy to answer you.
Yep.
All right. So if I am going on a listing, I ring. Hey, Kim, want to list our home? Sure, love to meet with you. Yay, right. Where do we go from there? We get the phone call. What goes through your head? Where does your process begin? Who wants to go first?
I can go.
Marissa looks like she's ready.
Yeah, always. You got to stay ready.
Got to be on your game
all the time.
Yeah.
If someone calls and they are interested in listing their property on the phone at that time when they call me, I have questions that I ask them, and it takes about 15 minutes. And then at the end of that phone call, I schedule a time to come over in person to do an in-person consultation. So I kind of get the ball rolling like right away, because this is with buyers and sellers, right? Time is of the essence. We are in sales and people have a need. So when they call you, that means they're most of the time, especially sellers, like they're ready to go. And so you have to get the ball rolling right away. Like as soon as they call you, that interviewing starts, even if it's a referral, even if it's someone you know already. You have to kind of hit them hard and fast. And so I do what we call like a pre-listing interview for about 15 minutes on the phone. And then after that, I have a pre-listing packet that I drop off to their house. And then right after, maybe like a day or so after, I'm trying to get in there to a listing consultation in person. So if just from that initial phone call, those are just kind of the steps that I take to get that listing.
Yeah, basically that's what I do too, Marissa. I try to get as much information in that phone call. And of course, my goal is to get the appointment so I can get in person with them and sit down at their dining room table or wherever, so we can meet and connect. Because I think that connection, but that information, like you said, is real important, because that helps you help you be prepared when you do meet with them in person.
Right. So in that 10 or 15 minute conversation, how do you know what to cover by phone, what to cover in the listing packet? And I know everyone can have a different procedure, right?
Yes. Right.
And so, and what do you cover when you get to the room, when you get at the kitchen table? So, so, and just a little preempt, if you don't have a complete package, some newer agents, some older agents maybe not have a complete packet, but we like to share what some of our agents do. So if you'd like to add on to it, or if you're like me, I grab my listing book, my CMA, my preliminary CMA, my information, put it in a folder. There is no right or wrong way, but if somebody has a really good process, we like to share that with you so that you can, sometimes you have to build it, right? So go ahead, Marissa.
Well, and thank you for lifting that up, Kim, because it definitely is something that you build over time, right? But you have to start somewhere. And we say this all the time, you know, in training, but I know that we've said this on the 10,000 before, that your system is the one that you use and the one that you use consistently. There's no magic, right? Your system is your system, right? There are some of us that do Ninja, right? And so with the Ninja system, there are specific questions that we do ask in that pre-list interview, but they are questions that aren't special to Ninja. So ask them, you know, how long have you lived in your home? Tell me about your home. Do you owe anything on the house? Get all of the information as possible. And so you can write out, you know, for yourself, 10 to 15 questions that you're going to ask a potential seller on the phone, right? And then when you go in person, and my suggestion is, when you go in person, obviously you need to take a tour of the house, right? So ask them, hey, show me your house, right? You know, they're involved in it. They're, most of the time, they are proud of their house, even if they're moving for a specific reason, they have outgrown it, blah, 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 right? They still bought the house for a reason when they bought it, right? So ask them, hey, can you take me on a tour? And take notes, walk around, take notes, because these are all things that you're going to need to know, and questions that you're going to need to be able to answer to other agents once you list the property, right? Or marketing remark. There's stuff you need to know. So that's like, in my opinion, that's like basic bare minimum. You know, you go in person, you ask them to take you on a tour of the house, you walk around, you take notes. And then, Kim, as you said, you know, there should be a time at that appointment where you sit down at the kitchen table or the couch or wherever. I actually ask them, I say, where would you like to sit? Sometimes, you know, people are like, let's go on the deck. Okay.
Right.
Plus, having that information helps you, like you said, Marissa, it helps you keep organized. It helps you look at it, because you know, especially if you're newer or you're nervous, you don't know these people and all that, you do want to make a connection. And honestly, they're looking at us to help them and guide them.
Exactly.
So the more we're equipped with the information, and another tidbit that I do, let's say my appointment's out a week or two, I'll actually drive by the house and get a feel for the location, because
Mhm.
it's going to change what those comps could be if it's across the street from a parking lot or a shopping center, or, you know, so I at least have I could be familiar with the neighborhood, but I want to know what's going on, and I want to be as knowledgeable as I can when I go in person to meet with them.
Yeah, good info. That's a good idea. Drive by, know the area.
Yeah.
I always like to come with a preliminary CMA.
Yes.
Yes, always. So, because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than them saying, hey, what did my neighbor's house sell for? And you don't know, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
I like to do a CMA ahead of time, bring as much as I can, so
Mhm.
that if there's any way we can sign at that table. The
Yeah.
other thing, I was at a listing appointment Saturday, and he was so impressed because I simply made a couple different net sheets.
Mhm.
I bring them. I may not pull them all out, but
Yep.
they want to know, what's it going to cost me to sell my
Yeah.
home?
Yeah.
And then if you use the Star Title app, it's all broke down. It even shows your portion, the buyer's agent portion, the 295, what the
Yeah.
state of Michigan charges them, what title insurance. So really important to have a net sheet. And I just go in with an idea in my head, and I want to know what went on around that home. So you can be as prepared as possible, and then you can adjust up or down once you get inside the house, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I found too, I like to be prepared because, and I do a preliminary CMA. I
Okay.
personally like cloud CMA. I can
Okay.
set it up and personalize it to me, and
Yeah.
it's easy and it's
Yeah.
quick. But I also like to have, like you said, Kim, the net sheets. But I'm going to be pretty confident I'm going to get that listing. I'll even go prepared with, because I have been caught where I haven't had the listing documents with me.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
don't ever want that to happen again. So I'm prepared with listing documents
Right.
too. Because
Yeah.
my
Yeah, me
goal
too.
is to get that listing.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I leave it, and if they're ready to sign then, or I bring it, if they're ready to sign then, I have it.
Mhm.
And if they're not ready, I say, I'm going to just leave you a copy of this. This is some of the things, these are the forms that we're going to review, and some of the documents you're going to sign when we list your home.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You
Yes.
both bring the contracts. Yeah.
Yeah. And they
And
can fill out seller disclosures at a later time. I'll leave those for sure. So those are
right.
filled out.
Sometimes they want to fill them out in handwriting. Sometimes they want to use the dot loop.
Right.
But come totally prepared. And then, as we talked about earlier, one of the things, so a couple things, is one, if you've not really been on a listing appointment, maybe you've been a buyer's agent, maybe you're new to industry,
Mhm.
it's just a conversation, right?
Right.
It's a conversation. And
Yeah.
that's the number one item on your list is, in your checklist, is build rapport,
Yes.
right? Build rapport, come in as the pro, do a lot of listening.
Mhm.
I like to ask questions.
Ask all the questions.
Yes,
The
and
whole appointment is you asking questions.
it's all asking questions, because
Yeah.
they'll tell you everything, right?
Yes.
Right. So so what else? What else should we be talking about when we go into into that appointment? What are some of the practicals that we want to leave there with?
So something that I was thinking of as you two ladies were speaking was we talk a lot in 5-star when we're training our agents and doing one-on-ones. We talk a lot about making sure that you are prepared for whatever this market is, right? Like it's a smart thing to like prep, right? Your sellers.
Yeah.
Like tell your sellers, this is what the market is. We are in a seller's market, but also interest rates have adjusted, right? So we may or may not have 30 offers. We may end up having 2, right? So you have to know what the market is and be able to explain that. Be able to explain what absorption rate is. Be able to explain average days on the market, right?
Yep.
So explaining practical things, just like you do with buyers in that first meeting, you do the exact same thing with your sellers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll take like a graph with me and kind of show where the market is at that time, and have, educate them, like you said, Marissa, on what's going on in the market. I don't want to overwhelm them,
Sure.
because there's so much.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think having the conversation up front is it really kind of helps you in the long run because you've had that conversation and you've made them aware of some of the things that could happen.
Right.
Right,
Like
right.
how do multiple offers work? What is that
Yeah.
procedure? Your specific process, like what is your listing process? This your timeline. This is what's going to happen. We're going to list your house on this date. We're gonna you know, if you stage or do cleaning or anything like that, like give them an expectation of what's going to happen next.
Right, right. So, and the other thing that you want to do in that appointment is always set the expectation. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Be
Right.
the pro, tell them what's going on in the market. My last presentation, I said, this is what we've been seeing, but right now we're in a little pause.
Right.
I have my conversation where buyers are readjusting. I
Mhm.
could go on this topic, so I won't, but 6% is really not all that bad. It's a great rate, but the buyers are adjusting to it. So I don't know what
Right.
our showing activity is going to be. It
Right.
used to be they all flooded the first weekend,
Exactly.
right? So set the expectation so that they know, what to, they know exactly what to expect. We did
Right.
get a question from Nick Sparks, and he's asking, how do you handle it when a seller is set on their price?
Ooh, that's a good question, Nick. Especially right now. Especially right now.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Honestly, this is what I'm doing. And we talked about this at our coffee hour when
Yep.
Doug came down, right?
Yeah.
So I'll share what I shared in that meeting. Something that has been very helpful. You have to understand that we have to be proactive, and our sellers are looking to us to be the experts, right?
Yep.
Looking to us to anticipate things. So in that same vein, if I have a seller who, I'm recommending, so like Kim said, I'm going with net sheets to the listing appointment, and
Yep.
I go with 3. I go with a high, I go with a middle, and I go with a low price. And they have
Yep.
3 different net sheets at that appointment, right? And my
Yep.
conversation with them is based on the market analysis that I did for your property. And now that I'm here and I'm seeing some of the updates you've done or not, have not done, right?
Yeah. Everything looks good in pictures.
Right. Right.
Yes.
So I would be like, this is my recommendation. And you can tell, it's always going to fall within those 3 price points. Now,
Yep.
if I have a seller that's like, man, I'm going to list higher than that, right? Higher
Yep.
than my highest price point. The conversation gently, these numbers are what I pulled from what's actually sold, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
explain the appraisal process, you go through all the things. And if you still have a seller because of the market, if you still have a seller that's like, nah, I want to list 50,000 more than that, your conversation at that point is okay. And right now, let's sign an addendum that says if we don't sell within the first week, because this is average days on the market, and let's just say you're in a neighborhood that's selling pretty quickly. So if you hit 7 days, there's a problem, right?
Mhm.
And that's what you explain. And you say, all right, so after a week, sign this addendum at the time of us signing the listing agreement that we're going to drop this price.
Yep.
Right. So you're honoring them. This is what I want to do. And
Yep.
also as the expert who's
Yeah.
supposed to control the process, you're going, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yep.
And if we don't sell after a week, we're going to drop it. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. It's exactly what I do, Marissa. I usually do about 10 days, but still
Me
give
too.
or take.
Depending. Yes.
And I let them know about the appraisal process because quite
Right.
honestly, I just had an appraisal come in low
That part.
and it's happening and it
It is
came in
happening.
really low. It was
Yeah.
for my buyer. So that's a whole nother thing to talk about, but
Yeah.
yeah, I have them and I make sure they understand this is what it is. Now, if we don't have activity, because believe me, your house is going to be marketed all over. You'll be happy with the marketing, the photographs and everything. If
Right.
it's not selling, it's because of price.
Yeah.
So
or
let's
condition.
try it. And I hope we do get that price. But if we don't, we want to be aggressive in getting that house reduced.
Right.
Right. A
Yeah.
couple of things that I like to share is that if we are not getting it. Let's assume the market's good, right? And there's buyers. We're in a little pause right now because of graduations in school and not the uncertainty of what's happening around us. But I like to share that if we're not getting any showings, it's populated out there. We know that all listings syndicate out to thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
So if we're not getting showings, the buyer's not liking what they're seeing on paper, whether it's the number, the price, the number of baths, whatever it is. They're saying, I don't want to get in the home.
Right.
Maybe it's location. Maybe, it could be a lot of different things.
Right.
But then if they come in and we're getting showings and then we're not getting offers, then they're saying, yeah, I saw it on paper, but I'm not seeing it when I get here. So you're not getting any offers, right? So I like to explain that we need to take the feedback of the market.
Yes.
And take the feedback and adjust. And I always share with them, there's 5 things. And I know this isn't about listing appointments, but we're here, right? This is really good wisdom to Nick's question. There's 5 things that sell a house. I always go through this with my sellers. One is the market. The market is what it is. We'll talk about what's going on in the market. The second is the location. If somebody wants Portage Schools and you're in Manawan, you're not in the running, right?
It ain't gonna happen.
Right. If it's on a busy road or if it's in a cul-de-sac, you can't change that. You can't pick the house up. Well, you could, but probably not going to move the house, right? And the third thing is style. If someone's looking for a master bedroom and you have a 2-story, you're out of the market. So the 2 things that buyers and sellers can control are price and condition.
Yeah.
So we're always going to talk about those 2 things.
Yes.
And that's one way with Nick in this conversation, have that conversation. I always like to say too, cleaning, decluttering and painting go a million miles, and
get rid of the junk.
Yes. Have these conversations in that process. It is still, these conversations are a part of that process because you want to educate that seller on how we're going to get their home sold, right?
It is easier right now to sell homes, right? I think what I'm seeing from agents, from me showing, and when I have clients sending me houses, buyers sending me houses, I'm going, y'all just not trying no more. Like, you guys aren't even gonna, okay. And we want top price.
Yeah.
Say it the way it is, Marissa.
We're still taking cell phone pictures and, not cleaning and declutter. You have to put, what we encourage our 5-star agents to do is put your best foot forward. Yes. Regardless of whether you think this house is going to sell quickly or not, regardless of whether you think this is the top location, put your best foot forward. Why not? That's where the rest of your business comes from later.
Right. Exactly. Because other people are looking. Yeah. Other clients are looking.
Right. Right. Regardless if it's a 500 or 100, I treat all of my clients the same. Right. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have like 6-7 minutes to wrap it up. So we went through the details of the checklist last week. So if you missed that, go watch that because it's more detailed. But let's talk about marketing.
Yes.
How are you going to sell yourself on your marketing? That's part of that process in that checklist. That's one of the questions going to come up is, okay, what are you going to do? What do you do? Do you just put an MLS? Are you buying ads? Are you sending postcards? Are you doing open houses? What do you find works best for you? And how do you present that? Because it has been, I put in the MLS, highest best Monday, it's gone. But now we're seeing them sit a little bit. And so we have to look at the whole picture. What are you finding in that area?
Well, I guess for me, it goes back to the comment I just made. Like our marketing plan is our marketing plan, regardless of whether we think that house is going to sell quickly or not. We do the same thing every single time. So we do boost ads on Facebook for our listings. We do an open house that very first day. We do reach out to like agents that are in our network and say, hey, this is coming up tomorrow, because we can only do it 24 hours before, right? We post in neighborhood groups on Facebook as well. That goes far, because you have to remember that, and it's free to do so, to like
Yeah.
go into different neighborhood groups and
Yep.
post your listing, because people, that word of mouth spreads. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I just saw this listing on Facebook that might, you know, they tag their friends in it. So that stuff goes a long way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we send postcards there. We have a whole thing, but
Right.
we do it every single time.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yep, yeah, me too. What about you, Cindy?
Yeah, and I let them know that I have, just like Marissa said, ads made for you know, the new listing, all that. It's going to be on Facebook, the neighborhood, and I have them reference my website and all my other marketing that I've done for other listings. See, that's why it's really important it be a reflection of you. I
Right.
want them to know that my advertising is me. And
Right.
everybody's different, and that they don't have to worry. I'll be promoting it. I'll promote it to other agents, send out notices, you know, buyers that you know, agent that I have, all that. And but that's why it's a reflection. I'm really particular about my marketing, because you know, social media, I don't want any issues with social media, but I also want it to be who I am.
Right.
Right,
Reflection.
right. And I know these days we do, like I'll do a surrounding postcard physically, but those boosted ads, you can see how many clicks, you can see how many views, and you can share that with your client. I think that's really important. One more thing, I know this isn't on marketing, but lots of good information here is I just bought one in the Battle Creek area, and I'm going to do another one because we're reducing, because we've been on the market.
Mhm.
And we knew we were aggressive, and there's some other situations that have made this home hard to show. You have a lady there at every showing and boxes everywhere, right? So she's moving today, we're regrouping, and I'll start again. But I send out for $40 a designated flyer to your board. And then you could say, hey,
Oh, nice.
this reached 800 agents.
Mhm.
So if they didn't see it on Facebook or on
Great
the Flex
idea.
MLS,
Yes.
it's cheap,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you can contact your board. I think G-Car might be 50, Battle Creek, I think was 40.
Mhm.
So just, you know, as we wrap this up, go through your checklist, call any of us if you have a property you're struggling to get sold. We can help you brainstorm what questions. It always comes back to questions. When we said sit at the table, sit at the porch, sit on the deck, I went over to my home where my lady is moving, and I never made it past the front porch, and we sat there and had a nice conversation, and we strategically have a new plan, right? So I always want to meet my sellers or buyers where they are comfortable, where they're at, and she
Yeah.
was really comfy on her porch. You
And
know?
every listing, buyer, all that is a different story. There's really not one same situation. So you have
No,
to kind of roll with it.
Yep. So any final thoughts, final wisdom in the listing to close process? We can talk about this always and often.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts, hints, wisdom, secret sauce, anything in this before we wrap up that either of you want to share?
Just have a process.
Okay.
If you're wanting to stand apart, and nowadays, especially because everyone is hungry for listings,
Yeah.
you might be in competition. Even if it was a referral, even if it's someone you know, you never know. So always treat your interactions with that seller, even if you're comfortable, like you're in competition.
Yes.
Don't let your
Right.
guard down. Do your best always, and follow whatever your process is. Now, Kim has this really great checklist, so you don't
Yeah.
have to start from scratch. You don't have to start
Yeah.
from scratch. So
Right.
download this checklist, print out multiple copies, put it in your drive. I don't know, but like use it, right?
Right.
Because if you have a process and you show up and you're professional and you show that you have a process, you are more likely to get that listing than the agent, and this is most agents, that show up like, oh, here's a couple of MLS sheets, and you know, let me walk around a little bit, and you want me to put my sign in the yard? No.
No.
Right?
And be
So have a
consistent and
process.
be consistent and believe in yourself, be confident. They're looking for you for guidance.
Right.
And, when I started out in real estate, I worked mostly with buyers. And then I decided in my mind, I was going to be a listing pro. I work on it every day, but
Yeah.
I mean, now it's, I'm not afraid. So,
Yeah.
and you can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Is another great addition to our 10,000 live stream and learning to be a pro. That is, I think that's where we'll sign off. Be the pro, be proactive, have your system. And I believe if you go in with some of the wisdom that we've shared with you today, you'll always win, even in competition. And just remember, we're always here to answer any questions, to help you build your business. Anything that we can help you with, be sure to reach out. So, all right. Well, we're going to sign off. Thank you again, Cindy and Marissa, for being here. And everyone stay cool. Be grateful it's not snow. And enjoy your Thursday.
Wear
Bye,
sunscreen.
everyone.
Wear sunscreen. Yes. I'm not a sunscreen girl. Wear sunscreen. Yes.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, guys.